body feels absolutely, insert explicit word here. Getting it done, getting it done.
Welcome back to the Sub 67 project. In this series, I'm trying to break my PB and absolutely obliterate it and go even further and run a Sub 67 half marathon at the Great North Run. In this series, I'm going to be talking to you in detail about each workout, each session, each run, cycle, S&C that I do to better myself in my aim towards breaking the Sub 67 barrier, if you like, at the Great North Run in about 9 weeks time. It's going to be a 10-week training block, and this is week 2. So sit back, relax. Thank you for all the support on episode 1, and let's get into this. Just before we start, I'd like to thank Saw Running for sponsoring this series. I couldn't do this series without them, but we'll get into that a little bit later in the video. So guys, this is week 2, as I said. So I started off with week 2 with an easy 60-minute spin. Now, some days I kind of change the direction or change the order of activities that I do depending on what is the easiest. So for example, this day I had university or uni at the clinic during the day, so I had to get my spin done in the morning because it was the longer of the activities that I had planned for that day. So I had an easy 60-minute spin on the bike and then also a 6-mile run, which only took me about 41 minutes. It was easier for me to go out and do that run later in the day and get the longer activity done first. So I did 60 minutes on the bike, as you can see here, next to Lucy at my local gym. And then I didn't actually manage to get any S&C that done because I was very tight for time. And then I managed to squeeze in an easy 6 miles before my evening session at the clinic where I treat my own patients. And as you can see from the caption there, that was my first experience of almost crapping myself mid-run. Not a pleasant experience, I have to say, but I guess it kind of made me speed up a little bit towards the end. But yeah, so that was 6 miles at an average of 4:13 per kilometre. I'm not sure what pace that is in miles, but I'll put it on the screen. And this is a loop that I do fairly often. I start from my house, I run down the hill towards Maidstone Town Centre, along the canal, and then back up the hill. So it's essentially a mile downhill, 3 or 4 miles flat, and then a mile uphill is kind of how it works. So it's quite a nice route to do, and I can switch out, go different directions if I want, and kind of play with the terrain. I did this run in the Puma Forever on Nitro, a shoe that I'm really enjoying for some of my easy miles. Then we headed on into Tuesday, and again I started off this day with an easy 60-minute cycle. I'm really enjoying kind of getting up slightly earlier, heading down to the gym, getting something done in the morning. It just makes me feel really productive and starts off that kind of that good mentality for the rest of the day. I'm keeping it really, really easy on these kind of morning cycles. So as you can see, an average heart rate of 118 beats per minute there. I'm not sure if I found it quite that easy. I just really struggle, as I said in episode 1, to kind of find like a good balance between effort and heart rate on the bike. Someone did comment on the previous video about it potentially being down to my cadence, so maybe I'm not having my cadence high enough. So it's definitely something I'm going to experiment with in the future. And again, 118 beats per minute probably wasn't that easy, but I would still say it was easy. And again, this is just utilizing kind of 10 minutes of cycling per mile of running. So if I would have done an easy 5 mile back when I was on high mileage, then I'd do about 50 to 60 miles of cycling to try and get that same sort of aerobic kind of training load essentially. And then it went into the evening, and I had to do a solo track session on this day, unfortunately, because a lot of the group that I train with were racing at the Tunbridge Open, and also I finished quite late from clinic, which meant that I wouldn't have made it to the group in time anyway. So I did a 2-mile warm-up as standard, and then I did a real favourite of mine, 5 times 1 kilometre with 200 metres jog recovery in 90 seconds at the track. And I was absolutely over the moon with this workout. I'd really been struggling with motivation. Week 1 went okay, nothing crazy, but getting onto the track, completely solo on a windy day as well, and I really surprised myself. You can see from the splits there that I ran 258, 257, 256, 255 and 254. So really nice progression, and it looks absolutely splendid on the Strava graph, as you can see there. And to be honest, this was a massive shock. I honestly thought that running 3-minute Ks was going to be kind of cutting it fine. I didn't know if I'd quite be breaking 3-minute Ks, so I was really happy with this, especially in those wind, in those conditions, completely solo. So yeah, again, one of those kind of small wins that you really have to cling on to when you're kind of coming back from injury, because it's not a smooth ride at all. But yeah, I did that in the Rocket X2. You guys know I absolutely love that shoe. It's a bit of a ergonomic aid, is that what they call it? Yeah, basically like performance enhancing drugs an issue. And then I did my standard 2-mile cool down as well. I was a little bit on cloud 9 there, so I went a little bit quicker than maybe I should have done on the cool down. Wednesday morning, I got up early again, and this is where I've tried to incorporate some elliptical running to add a little bit of load, but not quite transitioning back to like double run days just yet. So I did 30 minutes elliptical, and then I did 30 minutes S&C. Some days in the past, I've made the error of just disregarding the S&C, and it's something that I'm really trying to work on this time around. So this time, instead of doing, say, 60 minutes elliptical, I did dedicate 30 minutes of the workout to specifically adductor and hamstring exercises to really kind of improve my weaknesses, which is a real key thing for me. I find that my hamstrings are weak because I don't actually like exercising them, so I guess I kind of favor doing other exercises, and adductors because they're just horrible, aren't they? Those like muscles on the inside of your leg, just working those, they can get quite painful, and I just find mine are really weak, so just try to work on those. Then in the evening, I finished uni a little bit later than expected, so I didn't manage to get out the door until 6:25, but you know, I'm sure many of you guys at home have the same sort of thing. You don't finish work till 5-6 o'clock, for example, maybe even later than that. So I just went out for an easy 6 miles, and my hamstring pain was still playing up, and I found that a little bit kind of demotivating, a little bit disheartening, because I felt like in my head I was doing everything that I could to kind of keep it at bay, if you like, doing lots of cross training, not doing too much mileage, not pushing myself in sessions if I felt like it was getting too painful. So yeah, I put on there that I think I might have needed to get an MRI scan. In hindsight, you'll see when we come towards the end of the week that I actually don't think I do need one. But yeah, at the time, you know, when you're in that kind of negative rut, you just kind of start getting very pessimistic, and worst case scenarios start popping in your head. And that was in the Invincible Run 3. And yeah, quite enjoyed that run. It was quite a lot downhill because I did the same route that I did on Monday, but I did it backwards. So all of the downhill was quite early on. And yeah, again, another easy 6 miles. So in week 1, I did my Monday and Wednesday easy runs as 5 miles. In week 2, I've done them both as 6 miles, and then we're going to progress that as we gradually work towards the Great North Run. Then on Thursday, I just did one workout on this day, so I didn't do anything early in the morning. I finished clinic pretty late. I'd been there from 8:45 until 8:30 p.m. So I just did a 20-minute tempo. I'm really loving doing actual tempo work on a Thursday. I think I mentioned in the previous episode that I'd spoken to some guys from Loughborough, and there's a real staple from them is doing a tempo on a Thursday. So that's something that I'm trying to kind of use that. It's really important to take knowledge from people that are better runners or more knowledgeable runners than you. So I'm keeping tempos on that Thursday, that workout that isn't anything more than kind of an 8 out of 10. I would have liked to progress it a little bit more in terms of volume. So for this one, I only did 20 minutes of tempo work on the treadmill. But after a full day at uni, I just didn't really feel like doing it, and I didn't want to push my body any further than 20 minutes on the tempo. I used the Puma Deviate Nitro 2 here, so not a super shoe by any means, which is maybe why it felt a little bit more difficult than it had the previous week. But yeah, overall, I was happy with it. Got it done in the sweat box. And yeah, I just find it quite a nice workout for me. It's one that I actually look forward to, just getting down on the treadmill. Don't have to worry about faffing around with rests and things like that. I can just get my head down and get the work done, sort of thing. And then I always do my 2-mile warm up, 2-mile cool down. So again, just a pretty standard workout there, 20 minutes of tempo. And yeah, that's been the highest volume that I've done up to this point, just that 20 minutes there. Moving on to Friday, some people did mention on the previous video about whether I take rest days. I tend to really listen to my body. If my body is feeling knackered, I'll take a rest day. I've absolutely no qualms with taking rest days. But I do find one rest day for me is ample, kind of every 1 to 2 weeks. And sometimes if I'm feeling extra good, up to 3 weeks, because I'm so used to high volume, high mileage, that I just haven't found like I've needed to kind of stretch kind of down to one rest day every week, for example. So yeah, I'm having one rest day kind of every kind of 10 to 14 days at the moment. But I'd say speak to your coach and do what's best for you at the end of the day. For me, I find that I have to train with the least friction possible. And for me, taking a rest day at the moment, with how hectic my life is outside of running, taking a rest day is a friction for me. It's something that I really don't want to do, and it's something that kind of gets me down. So if I'm doing like a run, I make sure that I'm kind of taking every measure possible to make it as safe as possible, to make sure I'm not overloading, doing it on the treadmill, stretching, recovering properly, eating lots of protein that day, for example. And yeah, just make sure sure that you're not really kind of cutting your calories too much on training days. If you're someone that really wants to kind of shift some injury weight, as I mentioned in the last video, do it on rest days. That's the safest time to do it. But again, speak to a professional, speak to a nutritionist, or speak to someone that knows about it a little bit more than you. But yeah, so I just did steezy 5 miles that day. Nothing crazy, but enough to get me out into the fresh air, clear my mind a little bit, and that's exactly what I needed. Yeah, it was kind of on a bit of a whim, this one. I'd been at uni in the morning, so 9 till 12:45, or I was meant to be there. I think I managed to finish at about 20 past 12, so I finished slightly earlier, and I got home and I was like, you know what, I've got time for 5 miles if I get it done. So I just ran straight out the door, showered, straight back to uni, ate my meal deal in like the few minutes before my afternoon clinic session started. So it was a bit kind of cut and dry there, but got it done. And 5 more miles in the bank, and yeah, 3:59 per K pace there. So yeah, steezy to steady, a little bit quicker than my easy runs have been. Moving on to Saturday, and this was again another solo session. I did this on the treadmill. I find if I'm doing a solo session, the treadmill is the safest place for me to do it mentally, in terms of just really hitting those sessions, hitting those splits, and working hard and kind of not throwing in the towel, if that makes sense. This tied in with my group switching their training days, because anyone that lives in the UK will know that the weather was horrendous on Saturday. So they'd switched their training days, long run on the Saturday instead of the Sunday, and then did their track session on the Sunday. But because they were predominantly a middle distance group, they were doing a much faster session. So I didn't want to switch my week round and potentially mess up a week's training to incorporate a speed session, which is something that's really not the focus for me at the moment. So I headed to the treadmill. I wanted to do something a little bit more turnover, but not something like more, not quite say an 800 meter or 1500 meter specialist session. I wanted to just do something like 10 400s, for example. But I couldn't quite do that because the treadmills at the gym that I go to, they only max out at 20 kilometers per hour, which is 3 minutes per K pace, which isn't quite my 400 meter pace. So for 60 seconds, I don't think I would have felt the turnover that I wanted. So I opted for hills in the end. I really enjoy hill sessions, especially on the treadmill. It's something about it. It feels like a real kind of tough session, a real grueling session, and I really like that. So I did 10 times 60-second hills at 18 kilometers per hour at 8% incline. I originally had it at 10% incline, and trust me, that was a very humbling experience. So I had to reduce that down to 8%. But honestly, just have a play with the inclines, have a play with the speeds, and see which one you find the best. Again, it's all about doing things that you find mentally stimulating and actually fun to do. And this was one of those sessions. Probably didn't need to be doing hills this early into a training block, but it was on a treadmill, so there's less impact. And also I did it because it was something fun and mentally stimulating for me to do for a solo session. So I got it done because I enjoyed it. And that's something that I really think is a key for my training, is I'm starting to do more things that I enjoy and not necessarily things that are things you specifically should do, within parameters, of course. Take it with a pinch of salt. And then I had 3 minutes recovery after that and did a 10-minute tempo, again at 18 kilometers per hour, which is that 320 per K pace, and that was at 1% incline. So if you're wanting to kind of emulate the flat outside, I do always operate at 1% incline, and then obviously for the hill reps I put it up to 8%. And this was really humbling for some of the Tour de France riders who are kind of cycling up mountains at 12-13% plus. This 8% was a real humbling experience, so kudos to them. Did my cool down as standard, and then I followed this up with a really light S&C session afterwards. So this is more kind of functional stuff, more conditioning than strength after a workout. So things like core, stretching, eccentric loading, so really stretching those muscles out, and yeah, really trying to make myself a little bit more bulletproof and a little bit more robust when it comes to future running and training, for example. And then in the afternoon that day, I then got back onto the bike for another easy 60 minutes of spin. And I've just found that I really get the spin done when it's, say, 60 minutes, for example. Even though it can be quite boring, it's one of those things I can stick a podcast on, I can watch something at the same time, and that keeps me interested. I don't enjoy cycling anywhere near as much as I enjoy running, but with the impact, it has its benefits. And as you can see there on this cycle here, I actually feel like I got the grips of the heart rate a little bit more. So I had a much higher cadence. I covered more ground on the bike. I'm averaging between 28 and 30 kilometers for an easy 60-minute spin. And yeah, my average heart rate was a little bit higher there because I had that cadence that was going over. So more blood flow, helping that active recovery, and also getting that aerobic benefit as well. So yeah, then we moved on to Sunday. This has been my longest run in over 6 weeks. So I did extend it up to 11 miles, but I have to say I felt very, very rusty because of the new S&C exercises I'd done the day before. I went to see a S&C specialist from my uni on the Thursday, and he gave me some exercises to do. So I did those on the Saturday, and that left me very achy on the Sunday, I have to say. It gave me very bad DOMs. So yeah, this Sunday long run did feel a little bit difficult, but I got it done. And as you can see from the caption there, it felt like I'd been put through a hydraulic press or a shredder that morning. So yeah, it wasn't as fast as I would typically go for a long run. I know some people prefer to do their long runs slow. I quite like to keep them steady, kind of get them over and done with, if you know what I mean. So you're not out for hours on a Sunday morning. And SLR stands for Sunday long run, just in case you're wondering. Not slow long run, not steady long run, it's Sunday long run. Debate in the comments. So yeah, and then I rested for the rest of the day and kept it really nice and chill. But this week's kind of second part of the episode is going to be the long run. So I take the camera with me for the long run because I didn't really want to film a treadmill session. I know it's probably a little bit boring for you guys. So I took the camera with me for my long run, and that's the footage that you're going to see in just a second. 11 miles through my local woods, which I've run through all the time. Absolutely love it. It was a really windy day, so going into the woods kind of gave me a bit of shelter. And yeah, not clocking up too much elevation there, but 116 miles, 116 miles of elevation, 116 meters of elevation was just absolutely perfect for me there. And this was my second run outside in the Asics Gel Kayano 30, which I actually have really been enjoying, which I have to say, as my first stability shoe, I didn't expect to enjoy. And when I used to work at a running shop when I was a bit younger, Asics always seemed a bit behind the power curve, but I thoroughly enjoyed this long run in that shoe, apart from the fact that I felt like I'd been in a fight with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So guys, yeah, just over 51 miles there for the week, 82.59 kilometers completed that week, and that was my highest mileage week since I picked up an injury back in the start of June. So yeah, it's been kind of 6 or 7 weeks now, and yeah, I hope you enjoy this footage from my long run, getting it done in the windy Bleam Woods, which I live right next to. Really lucky to live right next to Bleam Woods. And yeah, I hope you enjoy these clips and my Sunday long run, completely solo, 11 miles. Enjoy. So guys, as I mentioned, a massive thank you to Soar for sponsoring this video series. Now, you might have been sat there thinking, Cole, what is this absolutely gorgeous hot pink number you've got on at the moment? And that is a hot weather running t-shirt from Soar. As I've got into cycling recently, I've really been loving jerseys with like a zip on them. It just means that when you get hot, you can open up your chest a little bit, get all these chest hairs out. Am I right? No, jokes aside. Now, the reason I've absolutely been loving Soar's running kit, and I've been using it for a couple of years now, actually. My first singlet was a Ben Park Soar singlet, and then it just completely changed the game for me in terms of its lightness. A men's running singlet weighs as little as 27 grams. You wouldn't even notice 27 grams on you. Like if someone put a 27 gram weight on your shoulder, you wouldn't even notice. So yeah, that's how incredibly light the kit is that Soar produce. They are the leading UK's premium apparel manufacturer, if you like. It's almost paper thin, it's completely seamless, and it just makes running so comfortable. I don't know, you just feel upper echelon in it. That's the only kind of saying that comes to mind when I think about it. So a massive thank you to Soar for sponsoring this video series. Please go and check out their website at soarrunning.com and have a little browse, see what you fancy. And yeah, a massive thank you to Soar. Back to the video and enjoy these clips of my Sunday long run. So guys, today is Sunday, final day of this training week. Come up to my room, just gonna get changed, ready for the long run. So up to this point during the week, I've done 40 miles already, and my previous biggest mileage week was 44 in this training block, or at least in the last few weeks. I've got a little bit of a predicament. My training plan includes an 11-mile long run today, but that will take me to 81k, which would be 11k more than my training week last week, which is a little bit more than I wanted to increase it by. So we're going to go to 10, see how we feel, and then reevaluate, because I don't want to advocate increasing your weekly mileage too quickly. So yeah, it's going to be about 50 to 51 this week. We shall see how we feel when we go out there. But anyone that's lived in the UK will know it's been absolutely horrible with wind the last couple of days. So I'm not looking forward to that, but going to head out into the trails maybe. Might go along the road. I'll have to see which route I'm fancying. You have to go with whichever route you find like most mentally stimulating or that feels most appealing. So the shoes might get ruined today because the woods are a little bit muddy after a bit of rain. But if that's the route I want to go, that's where we're going. So got some kit here. Got my shoes on the floor, so I'm going to get ready. So yeah, let's go out for my long run. And I'm going to take you with me. Yeah, so one of the main things I really want with this training block is that every week to kind of be a little bit more intense or voluminous than the last, until I taper obviously. And also trying to find which week is kind of like the nicest balance between cross training and running. So at the moment I'm gradually increasing the running and converting some of the cross training to running, and I'm really enjoying the amount of running at the moment, which is good. Whereas before it felt like I'd only enjoy kind of one of my every 2 runs a day, if that makes sense. So what I'm trying to do is find the most enjoyable volume of running, and then seeing how we can make it a little bit more quality and get more from it, essentially. Today I'm going to be running in the Asics Gel K 30. I did get sent these for free, but under no obligation to say they're really good. But I've only worn them for 4 miles. I have to say I actually really enjoyed them for the 4 miles that I did wear them for. So we shall see. And obviously I'm repping the Soil Hot Weather t-shirt today, even though it's actually not that hot weather outside. I just really wanted the bright, vibrant colours that was attracting me. And yeah, we'll see how we get on. Typically for a run of less than kind of 2 hours, I typically don't fuel much. So since this is 10-11 miles today, it's only going to be hour and 10, hour and 15. So yeah, I'm not taking any gels, not taking any liquids. It's not quite warm enough today, it's only going to be a bit windy. So yeah, no extra fueling on the run for me today. Just had my normal breakfast, porridge and protein powder. Although I have just remembered I've forgotten to go and clean my teeth, so I'm going to go and do that now. And I typically leave about an hour for a long run between my breakfast and the start of my run, just to be on the safe side.
So guys, just started the run. As you can hear, it's very windy. Legs are feeling knackered after some new S&C exercises yesterday, so don't overdo it today. Too bad, but it can be a bit of a killer. It's about 1 kilometre from top to bottom, a gradual increase. Whew. Still going. Oh, this bloody hill. So guys, got to halfway. I think I've had headwind the entire way, so hoping that I'll fly on the way back. But it's actually deceptively hot. So kind of muggy. But you can tell from my head I've just been running face first into the wind. I have to say, I'm not really enjoying it today, but that's kind of part of it, isn't it? Just got to get it done. Turn that doorknob, as a bigger YouTuber would say. Just get it done, as another YouTuber would say. Run to inspire. No, I'm joking. Right, anyway, I'm not here to stand, I'm here to run. So let's head back and see how I feel when I get to 10 miles, whether I'm going to do an extra one or not, because it's pretty easy to add one on. Just depends if I feel like it, so we'll see. This way is a lot easier. Oh my god. It's so nice having the wind behind finally. I'll level with you guys. After S&C in my session yesterday, I feel like I've been put through one of those hydraulic press things. Body feels absolutely, insert explicit word here. Getting it done, getting it done. Houston, we have a problem. So I get past this without getting my new shoes all wrecked. could yeet it, but I don't think the legs have got the capacity for that at the moment. Oh. We survived. Rate the curtains. Very Matt Stonia. Jeez. A lot of my friends from uni will ask me, "Carl, mate, what do you think about when you run?" I can tell you right now, it's ice cream, strawberries, and whipped cream. That's what I'm thinking about. And it's not helping. Another bloody hill. So guys, I'm trying to protect the mic from the wind. 11 miles done. My longest run in 6 or 7 weeks. So yeah, that's a good sign. Wasn't completely pain-free, but it's better than normal. I'm going to take positives from that, I guess. So now it's time to get back, relax, watch the Tour de France. Today's stage is a bit of a brutal one, so I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, then I've got some people to see for massages this afternoon. Thanks for tuning in to episode 2 of the Sub 67 project. I have no idea whether we're going to get it or not, but I'm going to give it a bloody good go. So please like, subscribe, share with your running buddies, love the pain, and I'll catch you in the next one.